thanks and praise, all you fabulous dissidents. We're going live. I'm flying solo. PK has not turned up just yet, but I'm feeling adventurous. And I realized it was 8:01 on October 1st when I hit live. So I just had to obey the impulse to engage the frenzy, the desire. The more I study Plato's Republic and the Greeks and astrology and music, the more I appreciate the muses for what inspiration rewards us with. So PK is on his way, allegedly. He should pop up any second. I hear some beeps. I'm going to go live with PK. We're going to talk about the Cartesian split. We're going to talk about some stellarium, some alignments. Yeah. And then I think we're going to try to take some call-ins or open the live stream. So any minute now, PK is going to be on, and I'm going to do some image share, probably through my screen share, which is not the highest quality, but I think something I want to do tonight. Big love, Jen. Something I want to do live tonight is a walk through the Hollywood costume department. I think a lot of what I've discovered in terms of the Actors Guild and the avant-garde, who used to be called Vanguard, I think that they use this tarot deck as their costume department. And a lot of it is seeded into our cartoons, our commercials, and going back to when Bambi made full-grown adults cry at a cartoon. Yeah. So yeah, we're kind of walking through our Disney shared dream space, the subconscious of the collective. But let's see if PK pops in. Give thanks and praise. Much love on the House of Garten. I'm going to sip my coffee and not make a noise. Much love, Deacon. Thank you for coming. So here is PK, my man, my main Han Solo behind the wheel of the Millennium Falcon. Ladies and gentlemen, give thanks and praise. PK has arrived.
What up, y'all?
Thank you for coming tonight, champion.
Yeah, check out my shirt. Is it a political statement? I don't know. I can't tell.
I love it. I love it.
It's like, no, it's just a statement. He doesn't surf. I mean,
yep.
What's the big deal?
That's right. Not everything's supposed to make sense.
Right.
Big love, brother.
Yeah. So when'd you start? Sorry, I was a couple minutes late.
All is well. I went for 8:01 because it's October 1st, which is 10-1, but of course it's got the oct in there. 81 is what? Hold on. Is it crypt? 81 is thallium. Thallium. Which is the poisoner's poison. Thallium, number 81 on the periodic table.
I heard someone say that they had redone the periodic table, and this was like, I forget who it was, but I felt like they knew enough that it was like of a scientific mind, and of a scientific questioning mind, like maybe they had like both backgrounds, and yes. And I was like, well, I want to see it, but then I never got it. So could have been a story, but I would really like to see, because I was looking up the periodic table stuff, and it was like 80. It was 81 of the elements were what you call, I guess, natural, or they're sustainable. They didn't like change or decay, I think is how they defined it.
Okay.
And then they, just a few years ago, took off one. They're like, oh no, we've noticed that this one actually does decay. And they're talking about like radioactive decay. So like one got out. I think there's like 79 now. But it was
Interesting.
it was pretty interesting that like most or a lot of those are more or less just kind of theoretical. Maybe there's a practical, use
hmm
for some of them, but like some just don't even exist like for a split second.
Right. I had also heard that they once had ether listed on one of the earlier charts of the periodic elements. And I've always wondered if anybody knows what number they assigned to it at that point. Um,
Ether, interesting.
yeah, which is yeah, that's, and also I remember learning that Promethium number 61 was almost like they left a space open of like a sequence of discoveries, and they didn't give them names, and they went on to discover a few somewhere in that 61 row. They discovered other ones of higher count, and then Promethium was filled in hindsight. So they retconned the element of Promethium and gave it its name, which is just strange that it's like they prophesized its existence.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I know. I wish I could remember what. Yeah, there's definitely some interesting stuff with that Promethean specifically. It's rather new, if I remember.
Yeah. And it has a sacred spot on top of uranium, neptunium, and plutonium, which are all like hot commodity items that get you locked up just for saying them too many times in a row.
Yep.
So, PK, if you don't mind, can I take people through the dress department, the dress closet of Hollywood real quick?
Let's do it.
All right. All right. So something I guess I want to just make a premise for this sequence of images, which are not going to be in the greatest quality because I'm going through my Telegram with it. So they're kind of going to be a little meh. But I just want to convey a fascinating amount of stylistic consistency through the tarot deck into our culture and our art, um, and particularly through cartoons. I think that's the most obvious one because the color scheme is very juvenile. It's very, standard cartoon color scheme in this deck in particular. Um, and what's fascinating is if we do it chronologically, you can actually see the evolution of the character arcing through our lifetime and taking on different faces. So yeah, there's like these quintessential patriarchs of the ages from before that are dressed up in our cartoons, and then they in our life have a little story arc as well. So that kind of is setting up some of the visual context of what I want to share. And
You got some schizophrenic graphics for us?
schizophrenic graphics,
Yes,
bro.
sir.
Yes. Let me see. All right. So here we go. Are you guys seeing my? Yeah, this is my
Yeah, your Telegram.
Yep. All right. So essentially, I've been about. Here we go. Is that coming through? There's
Yep.
a there's an eclipse coming, and it's going to sweep the leg of South America. And the most fascinating thought I've ever had is look how much the continents kind of look like these particular constellations that are kind of coming through. The more I study the ancient arts and the ancient codes and symbols, the more I realize kind of what these pictures are saying, more to our right brain, you could say, to our creative kind of the aspect that is pictographic. I want to say polyglottal, but we'll just say pictographic. Pictures say 1,000 words, and we don't take the time to unpack them. But that's kind of what I'm hoping to do here. But PK, can you see the South America in Eddie Murphy's arms?
Yeah. So real quick, I think these are just on your like a saved, like a telegram to yourself, right?
Also, yes.
This, yeah. But yeah, we'll link the telly. How do you search for your telegram? Do you know your channel?
Hmm.
We'll link it in a minute.
Yes. Sorry if anybody hasn't seen us in our Telegram communique.
So
that's a good point. I wish I had that. Let me see if I can find it.
I'll get it. Well,
Okay.
yeah, I'll
Okay.
get it. Keep sharing, keep going through this stuff. So
Good.
do I see the South America in his arm?
The South America is by his thigh. And in the full card on the left-hand side, South America is upside down completely.
What are we looking for? Like a pizza shape, I guess.
Pretty much. That's a good
Yeah.
point. It's pretty
Yeah.
much a pizza shape. Good point. So the a constellation on the full card on the right-hand side under his armpit, that is the Ara Altair constellation. And a great amount to do with being altered. He's carrying mind-altering substances, the Dionysian pills, and even some placebo effect to that. Some of these great minds of history were actually kind of self-hypnotists. So here is this is Arthur Schopenhauer is unpacking into a living hypersigil of the most epic proportions. The more I study him, the more fascinatingly in depth this legend is proving to be. But, I'm starting, we're in a day and age where we're like, some of the aspects of these reconstructing of the archetype and repackaging it into different personalities, it really it takes on a life of its own, I guess, is kind of what I want to say. And so it turns out uh, Arthur Schopenhauer is a very close anagram to Ebenezer Scrooge. And essentially, we just call him Schopenhauser, if we call him Schopenhauser, then we have all the phonetics for Ebenezer. If we call him Arthur Schopenhauser, then we have Ebenezer Scrooge in the anagram. So he also is this magi from Merlin and the King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Even look at the magician's blue cap. You see how he's got that pie wedge shape to his hat? It's in the Thoth card where this egg, oh, you can see my mouse. You see how the egg is inside of a blue, whatever, triangle?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Schopenhauer has been passed through to a great many of our Disney culture. And then sure enough, he pops up as Yoda And Yoda has like the saddest death scene of all time where he just kind of rolls over, dies, and he
The
just
Ebenezer Scrooge anagram, I think you should elaborate on that a little bit because it's so fitting, and I'd imagine, a lot of people, kinda like me, don't know much about Schopenhauer and
oh,
why that's so fitting.
yes, yes, thank you. Let me dig
Yeah.
into that. Yeah, let me turn over some more stones on that. So Schopenhauer is a ideal pessimist, and he's also a self-learned, self-taught, and he kind of established his primary theory in will and representation, and he stuck by his theory for his entire life. And that's kind of what he's really renowned for, is like making an entire career off of not changing. And so he is kind of a quintessential hermit, number nine. He's a pessimist, cynic. And in his story biography, he parallels Diogenes from the Greek philosophers to such an amazing degree, you almost could say that he's actually just a construct. I mean, it's amazing what they've done with his biography. So he is he's greatly envious of Hegel, and they go to the same school, and he's teaching, I think, in Frankfurt, where Hegel is, and Hegel is like the golden child, Apollo getting all the glory, and Schopenhauer is so miserly that he intentionally schedules his classes directly in across the hallway and at the same hours as Hegel's class. So he's hoping to directly interfere and steal students from Hegel. And that's amazing because Diogenes did the exact same thing to Plato. And so somehow their relationships are embedded with these archetypes from ancient days. And then I just got to say one more thing. Schopenhauer was he was accused of his philosophy and Goethe's philosophy of causing people to commit suicide because it was so darkly questioning, and all the way down to, if you don't have the right to take your own life, then how can you claim to have control of your life? You know, that was some of the dark questions he was getting into. And people started offing themselves in writing letters with his kind of ideas in it. So, um, that wizard right there on the bottom um, left hand side winds up an airplane and throws it out the window, and then the airplane drops down into the moat below. And I just think about some of the dark implications of Merlin being actually a covert Schopenhauer who is known to have caused people to maybe, uh, yeah, jump out of
I
windows and think they could, whatever, be reborn.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another thing. Reincarnation. I'm sorry, I forget this. Also, because he's kind of skirting on reincarnation, it gives people this idea that if they just kill themselves, then they come back and get a reset, and that can be a choice. That's another dangerous thing about this archetype. Uh, okay. Also, he got in a fight with the old lady out on the stoop, um, and he put a curse on her. On the last day, he had to pay her like $20 a week for 20 years. On the last check, he like wrote a little hex. Uh, so he was kind of salty. And then I think people even say he celebrated her death. But I just want to say, when Ebenezer Scrooge has his vision, he goes back in time and he finds out that people were celebrating at his funeral, right? That's part of Ebenezer Scrooge's story arc. So yeah, there's a great many aspects of finding out that Ebenezer Scrooge and Schopenhauer are not just similar, it's even the letters of their names are just a little bit of a scramble linguistically.
That's
Also,
crazy. What though, real quick, what's your like take on that? Do you think it's do you think it's coincidence? Do you think it's like universe synchronicity? Do you think it was on purpose?
oh man, see, look at you going for the heart of the matter. I think there's enough meat on the bones that there's a huge there on its own, but the but the art, the art craft and the actors guild, they just amplify this thing every time they get a chance, and it just takes on a life of its own. So I think that if there is any mystical implication, it's also psychologically explainable, I guess. So there's always this plausible deniability that it's psychologically explainable. It doesn't really have to be mystical. But one more thing about Schopenhauer, and then I'll set that one aside. But he had a essay called "Essays on Noise," which is an anagram or that's a acronym for Aeon. Essay on Noise is EAN, Aeon, and it was about whips outside of his window driving him crazy, and the sound of whips. And for some reason, I just when I hear really great minds, uh, pages and pages, I just think about how they're kind of, I don't know, they're I'm thinking of it as programming more and more. So when I look at Schopenhauer, I have a little window of possibility he might have been in the Opus Dei. And the Opus Dei, they crack themselves with the whips and they keep that chalice around their leg. And Schopenhauer went on walks exactly the same time every day. I'm pretty sure 3:30 every day that they
That's
could go ahead.
that's pretty that's pretty crazy. So what you're talking about is I assume okay, so this guy lived like 1800s, right? Like early. So
Yes.
the whips of the horses you're probably talking about, he lived in a city and it was the cracking of whips on like horses outside.
Yes. Yes.
But that's a crazy connection, dude, that only like you could make, man, that you're saying that it possibly he has some trauma from flogging himself.
Yes,
That
sir.
is nuts. I love it. I love it.
Yes. Um, and another aspect about this, I keep the Opus Dei on my map, and I keep them kind of segregated. I'm kind of nerdy about that. I know that they're parallel to Jesuits, but not exactly the same. Um, but one thing that I've learned, so uh, his infernal spirit, Schopenhauer's, is going to be Belphegor or Sloth. And symbolically, I know about that egregore a great deal. And it has to do with bathroom supplies. He's always depicted on the toilet. And so, in a strange way, when they did the commodity fetishism of the toilet paper running out on the people, I believe that was um, commode deity fetishism. And they were taking away the toilet paper because they were going to turn them into masks because they knew they could sell them for a higher market on them for masks. So they literally put your toilet paper where your mouth is. And there's something about cracking your own whip and whipping your own crack and wiping your own crack that I think was a Belphegor Opus Dei spell, if I could summarize it.
Yo, I never thought of that before. Did you come up with that on your own?
Yes, but only because I keep an eye on these sick fuckers.
Dude, so oh my god, I never thought of that before. The paper toilet paper shortage. And it wasn't that long, but it was like enough and it was weird that maybe they like offloaded a bit of the supply to make masks.
Isn't
Has
that
to that's
Isn't that out of control? Then think of the markup.
I've
Think of
never heard that before.
right. And so they put your money where your mouth is, and they
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's a the art craft of it is just I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the asshole to point out the joke of it. But studying Marx, I learned about commodity fetishism. And and I this is a trigger word from hundreds of years ago, but I'm realizing that they really have turned the words of these scholars of these ancients, they've turned them into weapons. I call them we puns. These are the we puns of mass distraction. So yeah, I've been looking at this Fool card. In PK, can you see the peninsula of Italy on the Fool?
Let's see. Where at?
Right behind his head over here. I did a cut and paste of the peninsula of Italy.
Yeah, are you saying like with his arm?
No, it's kind of on the yellow space between his head, his bag, and his arm.
I don't know. I think maybe the your overlay is blocking it.
Is it?
Oh,
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't see it. Do y'all see it in the chat? Could be me.
Yeah. So I see the shape of Italy in the negative space behind his head, which reminds me of Orwell's line, if you want to a picture of the future, imagine on a human face forever. Well, that line is also kind of
Oh,
it's kind of
I
pointing.
see it.
He's kind of pointing at Sicily when he says that. But I'm looking at Boots, the constellation Boötes, more closely because these cultures creators they're using astronomy and kind of giving up their modus operandi. So between the legs of the Fool card is the South America again. I discovered it both on the Thoth deck Fool card because it looks like Buotes, but when I go on the Rider Waite Fool card, right here under my zebra legs is a South America.
So, what's it called? Pareidolia. That weird
Yes,
word.
yes,
I feel you know me. I'm gotta be my doubting Thomas. Play my role for a little bit.
yeah. That's
What
what
you're
I love.
seeing here is a awkwardly shaped triangle, pizza
Mhm.
shape. That could arguably be Africa. Also, just throwing it out there.
Okay.
And yeah, a part of me, I'm wondering if this is what you want to see right now, and that's why you're seeing it.
Yeah, I'm down with that. I'm down with that. And of all the cards for it to be like that, it would have to be the Fool card,
Yeah.
So there's one more on it. But I believe it was in Schopenhauer where he actually oh no, it was somebody else. But Schopenhauer's got a good Fool quote that I heard recently. Okay, I'm just gonna flash through some of these. Winter Triangle very much is kind of like Santa Claus sack over his shoulders. There's even a Christmas tree nebula in the mix. But it's not by Buotes, like this is not the same triangle. I don't, you know what I mean? It's definitely not the triangle I'm looking for. But check this out, PK. Ferdinand, or no, excuse me. Don Pedro II was a king in um, Brazil who actually met Nietzsche on. It turns out these are all rumors, and they barely stayed together in a hotel for a few nights, but the whole story has been exaggerated. Well, I go looking at
Yeah, they met him on a hike, and he didn't know who he was. Like they were hiking up a mountain,
yeah,
and they like talked. That's the embellished story. And
Yeah,
he gets back and he's like, why is everyone so respectful to this guy? And then it's like, oh, it ends up being this dude, Pedro.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. So I look up his pictures and I'm seeing the South America by his legs again.
Man, okay, like that one cool because like, it's the Brazil like king,
Right, right. Yes.
So yeah. Dude, that's just so funny. I love it though. It's like it's like that whenever all of a sudden a number is put into your purview and then you see the number everywhere.
Yes.
It's it happens. It's hard to explain, because then you're thinking, well, is it just because I put my attention on it, or something else going on?
Big time. Yeah. And, I also, I do have a big adventure, a big journey coming up on my horizon. So full card symbology is like, yeah, very harmonious to my own path. So some of these might seem a little off topic. I just want to get them on the record, though. Um, I've been watching the Power of the Rings of Power. Have you seen any of that, PK?
Actually, yeah, I've been keeping up with it, so
You,
I'm up to date, man. Let's go. I've
oh
seen them
shit!
all.
Oh
Yeah,
shit!
yeah.
Well,
What's it called? Every Thursday.
yeah, man. All right. Well, check out this guy's name is like. Do you remember his name in the movie?
Calibrumblor. Dude, every time they say his name, I know that's not what you're talking about. But every time they say his name, we're like, Lord Calibrumblor. It's just like such a mouthful. I can't help saying it. I'm just like, I don't know.
Well,
Does anyone
so
else do that? Lord Calibrumblor.
so one thing I pick up on in his the biography they're giving him in the film is some aspects of L. Ron Hubbard here. And I'm pretty sure one of his names is Eldron. Um, and he's even got this weird thing in his between his eyebrows, this scrunchy eyebrow dimple. But the one that gets me, bro, the king of the elves is Aleister Crowley, PK.
Yeah? What, just because in appearance?
And
You
also,
think?
it's also in elements of their behavior. And they even will weave lines from their biography. They'll just switch it out just a little bit and then feed the line back through the actor.
Interesting.
So this king is like doing all kinds of inside nods, winks, nudges for those who are in the know, but also because he looks like him. And let me see. Okay. These are just for history's sake. I just wanted to point out that PK, you were the one who you were tracking the Perseid meteor showers and mentioned that they pop off in July. Well, they start exactly the day after the Chump shooting. So like Chump's ear, and then boom, Perseids are going off for a couple weeks
Whoa.
there. Yeah. And so that's something that I think I just want to keep on the record is, these meteor showers, they do open windows. They open really big windows. And the
Mm-hmm.
word influence literally is where the word influenza came from. And it's when they think that the stars were coming through windows. And I think these meteor showers are the windows that we were looking for. So uh this
That's
one, go ahead.
And also too, the influenza, it's like, is it a contagion of um, mental influence? Right?
Right. Yes, because they can echo rituals from our ancestors. This one is a Regids, and I'm kind of having a hard time seeing it, but uh, oh, that one is the September
There
1st.
it goes.
That's exactly at the crisscross. Uh, yeah, pretty much the crisscross of the Analima, which is probably in itself a few days long, really.
Oh, oh, can we go back to the Annalima real quick?
Yeah.
I got something on that.
Yes, sir.
So back one more. So on your on the last show you did with Chance on Interverse with Jason Quitt and John McHugh,
Mhm.
very good. It was about star patterns and stuff. And so the one thing, you know, seeing, I think there's some good examples of cultural diffusion in that show. But one thing I looked into was this 23.5 degrees. And so that is you know, you look it up, it's what they say uh is the tilt of the earth. Okay.
Mhm.
And it's so hard to find it, it's kind of weird that it's hard to find out what that means. Like you got to do the backflip, you know, turn around, stand on one hand to interpret that to, okay, that's great. You say that the earth is tilted 23.5 degrees. What does that mean to me for right here from earth, you know, in perception? And what it means is so you think about it like this. If you got a stick in the ground, and this fits with the analemma because you said the analemma was tied to the 23.5
Yeah.
degrees,
Yep.
right? So put a stick in the ground and on sunrise at the equinox, okay, that the sun will make a line going directly west. Okay. You follow me so far?
Uh-huh.
All right. Then you like, you know, make a mark of that on the ground. Then come the spring or the autumn. No, what's next? The summer solstice. Okay.
Uh-huh.
The sun will rise in the northeast and make a shadow southwest. So that shadow, that, and then say you mark that, that angle that you made from the line of the east west line to the line that you just made from the summer solstice sunrise, that angle right there is 23.5 degrees or whatever they say it is now. You know how they get so granular? It's like 23.4 and it like goes between 21 degrees and 25 degrees or whatever they say. But that right there is a practical, easy observation uh of that. And then same thing with the going you know, back to the equinox for autumn, then going down to the winter solstice, sun will rise southeast and make a shadow going northwest. And so same thing, that angle. And what's crazy about it is unless you're like super far extreme,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter where you are. Meaning if you're between the tropics, like one of the examples in that show, Peru, or if you are north of the tropics, like the other examples, I believe one was the Fremont Indians in Utah, and then another example was someplace in China that was more or less the same um, latitude. So it's just crazy to me that that angle, and it hurts like to think about it as in a heliocentric way and then a
Uh-huh.
geocentric stationary way. Like how does that make sense that these angles, these shadows would be the same, um you know, to measure the angle? So what I'm getting at, kind of long-winded, is that to me, just the fact that you find multiple artifacts displaying this angle, and kind of like you said it, but I'm going to say it kind of more bluntly.
Yeah.
You know, you said that the 23.5 degrees is right in the analemma. So same thing, it's right in the stick on the ground, you know, at the equinoxes and solstices, the shadow. That to me, that just points at, yeah, these people observed the sun and its patterns and made art to corroborate that, you know, to
Yeah.
it's so to me, I don't think a priest or anyone would have to go around telling someone this, because it's not like hidden esoteric knowledge. It's just like observation.
Right. Well, you know, there's so many layers to it. Like, remember the part where I was like, John, don't you realize that when you have to talk to academics, there's an agreed terminology everybody has to use that's required, that they all decide that it's BCE. Okay, we're going to use that as the standard. Well, the BCE spells out 235.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I thought that was kind of funny how John was kind of on his tiptoes about that stuff. Like you could
Right.
tell, he's like, I don't mean to offend anyone by saying BC. I'm like, what? Who says that? But I guess it's like a thing. I mean, I had
Right.
no clue. But I
It,
just, yeah, I thought that was kind of funny.
yeah. And there's something, it's like we were doing archaeology right there for a second, where he's like, oh, I got to say it the special way for the doubters. And I'm like, no, guess what, those doubters are wearing it on their head like a mantle.
Yeah, yeah, that was a great point.
And another weird thing, I just buzz on it every time, but it's also the first three prime numbers. 2, 3, 5 are also the first three prime numbers. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's so how does it fit the 23.5 on the Analema? Do you know?
Um,
Because that might not be
yeah.
a too yeah, go ahead.
I think it's all Analimas have a little bit of a kilter to them. And when I made this image, I think I centered it up so it looks more balanced, but almost every Analima has a little pimp stride going on.
Right. One either in the northern hemisphere, the top of the Analema will be the smaller circle and the
Right,
bottom will be the bigger. Now, if you're in the southern hemisphere, it will appear reversed, and
right.
the top of the Analema will be big and the little will be at the bottom.
Yeah. And I think they kind of do, they're not directly north and south. You know what I mean? If you were tracing it on like a pane of glass, this is something I've always wanted to do, is trace the Analema as many days as you can to
Uh-huh.
to make the project come through. But also, then I think even then it's not due north and south. It has a kind of a kilter to it. But all right, so you ready to rip through a few more? Oh,
So you're saying that kilter is the 23.5?
I think
Is
so.
that okay? Okay.
I think I've seen it kind of charted out with the angles to it.
Yeah.
Um, um,
Yeah. Let's keep
a-
going.
and one more thing, I learned it. I learned the angles at 23.4, but I'm not gonna like split hairs.
Well,
I
they say
just
it's 4.7 right now, so apparently it changes. And you look it up, it's I forget the guy's name, but it's like the something starts with an M, and it's like Meklovitz, something like that.
whoa,
But I'm
interesting.
off. It's a cycle. So it's not like it's not the metatonic cycle, but it's something like this. It's another cycle. And they got the thing, it's the axial precession along with the orbital precession. It's like three things in one.
Yeah.
But specifically what they call the axial precession is one of these three in the cycle. And apparently the full cycle, according to math, right, is
Uh-huh.
is they say around 41,000 years. And it goes, there's a range that the earth tilt goes from, and it's not that big. It's like 21 point something to like 20 uh to like 24.5 or something. So it's always in there. And so that's why you remember it saying that, yeah, well, maybe that's what it was back then, according to their
Yes.
precise measurements or whatever. Yeah.
Right, right. So wondering on this image, I have a picture off of the cover of the book The Jew of Linz, which is a highly controversial book. I'm not really recommending it, but I do see its cover art, its card, uh, as I've studied Wittgenstein's biography. And Wittgenstein was kind of said to be the reason Hitler was such an a-hole. And so there was a lot of like unrealistic blame associated with that book. And so yeah, that's one of the elements I see kind of going on with the that lust card. Um, I want to remind everybody that in Latin, the word "sci inti fec," it really translates to know that it is fiction. Okay, this is the here we are on the costume department of Hollywood and culture creators at large. I just find it fascinating that the cartoon iconography is, in fact, initiating the children into this tarot deck in particular. Like, I could have used another world card for this correspondence, but the accuracy is higher quality with the Thoth deck than it would have been with the Rider Waite, I think. But can you see what I'm getting at with this?
Yeah, these things I know they're probably like, I don't know, Chinese or something, but it reminds me of Where the Wild Things Are, that kid's book.
Big
You
time.
remember that?
Yes. So these are the island spirits, turtle. Oh no, the
Oh,
elementals.
oh, is that what you have a picture of right there?
Yeah, they're the
Yeah.
elementals from Avatar.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And just like you said, it reminds everybody of the wild things, but
Hmm.
this is also kind of mm, I guess I should say, maybe I shouldn't say, but it's also reminds me of Pinocchio and being taken to Donkey Island or whatever uh, to be with adults. In the modern context, kids on islands just takes on a real nefarious means. Um, and this is where I'm like, damn, I wish everything was not a psyop. I so wish that there could be things that are not a psyop. But this is Kenneth
There's
Anger.
got to be, right?
There's
There's
something
got
out
to
there.
be.
Something out
There's
there.
got to be. Sometimes shit's organic. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like it has to be. Like I I feel like too at times, and I have a problem with this too, because immediately, my first thought is everything's fake, right? And
Yeah.
so, but then at the same time, it's like, man, are we giving them more credit than they deserve? Like
Right.
at times,
Right.
So yeah,
Yes.
makes me wonder.
So yeah, I will I guess I want to say that art is so easily graftable that you can and artists are notorious thieves. They're just borrowing from other artists and sometimes more shamelessly than others. Um, but this card is the Aeon card. And the name of the main character in the avatar, his name is Aang. And this is also the cover art for Kenneth Anger. And so I think there is a high degree of sigil capture. I think we're seeing sigil capture. And it's not to say that it's all under control or going exactly as planned, but we do know about um, the patent office and copyright trademark laws. Sigil capture does seem to be, I think, the maybe the easiest way to point the finger at the vanguard slash the avant-garde. Oh, this is an old one. I may not, but I might skip past this. But I, I had a theory that just for the moment, when Han Solo met with Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Obi-Wan is uh, Immanuel Kant, and young Luke Skywalker is the Rousseau of the future.
Who's Descartes?
I don't think there is a Descartes here, but let me think.
Yeah, it's funny.
Because he gets cut away from his body, like my body split.
You cut out for a minute.
Oh, C3PO, because he gets detached from his body. He's kind of the mind body split.
He's the Cartesian duality.
Yes, I think so. And that's why some people are in a different universe over the fact that they think that leg was silver. They swear it was. So yeah, and then I love Hume is Chewbacca because he's got the theory. This is old girl from, I forget her name, from the Avatar series. I'm just gonna flash through. But she is fulfilling the Lupus constellation because she's an outlaw, which is actually in Libra, but then also the death card because she's so strappy herself. But it's like she is Scorpio riding on Lupus. It's kind of my read on her.
Huh. So lupus. All right. The she-wolves
Yes.
apparently was another name for the temple, some temple priestesses.
Right.
Just like doves, right? So that's cool. You put it on lupus. I wonder if she's got temple priestess stuff going on.
Oh, yeah, good call. And it's definitely the outlawry, like that aspect of she makes her own law.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is really a fun matchup. There's Momo the bat, has these gigantic ears, correspondent with the lighthouses of the moon card. But they're also, these are two mascots. That's the other thing I'm realizing is kind of the how the ingredients rack is organized, and that is that the moon card and the sun card are always tokens, just like the fact that the moon and the sun looks like silver coinage and golden coinage. And so they really are token heroes or token characters, um, often taken for granted. But yeah, so Momo in Avatar is the moon card, and Appa is totally the sun card. But then in other films or in other cinematic expressions, they just kind of repackage them, much like R2D2 is just like the moon, looks like the moon card upside down to me, and C3PO is the sun card upside or right side up.
I've been starting to look at. So you mentioned like sun and moon, and
go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done. You cut out. Are you good?
Yeah. What are you thinking?
So I was looking at thinking about the sun and moon card. How you mentioned silver and gold. I got this book recently called Barren Metals, and it's pretty crazy. It goes into kind of the history of I guess you could call it the alchemy of money, kind of how everything went from metal, right, coinage and stuff, to now and then it was paper related to something, and now it's paper not related to anything. And so I wonder, because it's all in Faust has this big thing about there's a part in it about paper money and debt, and like the history of it is that it was like how a lot of the emperors and stuff, the rulers, got out of debt, was that they would print paper money, and kind of that rule of like, oh, not everyone's gonna cash in at once, no one's gonna audit me because I'm the emperor, so it's kind of like how honest do I have to be, so it was like a way for these guys to get out of debt, is kind of this theory he's putting forward. And So yeah, I just wonder how much. Can I hear my dog?
That
I
was
just
funny.
wonder how much symbolism might be like going to that, because if they are, they're all about kind of showing you stuff in your face, but
Yes.
subtly. And it's kind of a big deal. Imagine if like you were the ones that got people to believe that this piece of paper was worth money. you know it's
Right.
like it's like the ultimate philosopher's stone in the whole, like, very exoteric sense of turning lead to gold, or making something worthless into gold. It's like the alchemy of alchemies, you
Big
know?
time. Big time, man. Yeah, like I forget the whole weave, but the uh Wizard of Oz, the characters, the levels of meaning on those characters, like it has actually evolved with more and more depth over time to such a profound degree. But like TIN, there's a 10 man. Well, that TIN, that's your tax ID number.
Mhm. Yep.
um, and then there's,
That's wild.
yeah, and then the straw man, he's literally your straw man, your state issued name, the scarecrow up on a post. He's posted up on a post. Um, yeah, and then I actually think is kind of your the placenta, really. But
Who's placenta?
the lion,
The lion?
I think the lion is, yeah, because he's got his tail. He's always fiddling with his tail. That's the umbilical cord.
Oh my god.
So this is a collection of other morphic resonances that this card has been embedded into. And the one that really trips my trigger is Jar Jar Binks right there. Do you know about dark Jar Jar theory?
No, I've never even heard of it, like
Oh,
Jar Jar Barks before.
dude, you're so anti Star Wars. It's
I
ridiculous.
am, I am, yeah.
It's-
I've never made it through the full movie without falling asleep. I tried like twice, and I don't know, man.
it's
It was
good.
maybe like just a little bit before my time. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
old,
Yeah,
I'm
buddy.
I'm 40, but like still before. Yeah, it might just be a little bit before my time.
Well, the dark Jar Jar theory really trips my trigger. I'm sure that it's a legit because Jar Jar is the Jesuit heraldry. He is the John the secret order of John the Baptist's uh, military heraldry is basically a Jar Jar dude juggling items around. So yeah, I give Dark Jar Jar to the Aeon card all day long. Um, but here is
Walrus.
he- so here is the what my read on this is the Fred card. This is the indifferential. And this is also kind of the atavist mentality. Those who cannot, they're so reduced to themselves that they can't be reduced to anything anymore because they're self-reducing. This is a I'm seeing this now, whereas before I thought it would be number 7, the enthusiast. I'm seeing this as the number 4 individual, and so I'm kind of breaking the laws on what I was doing with the numbers on the Enneagram. I'm giving myself permission to see them in their prime stations as well. And Friedrich Nietzsche and Fred from the Scooby Gang, that just cracks me up.
Who's the bottom right?
Uh,
Statue
that is Democritus.
guy. Ah,
And he is also called the mocking one or the mocker.
Fred Democratus.
And yeah. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And then I got the mocking mask. That's one of Thalia's masks, the muse of comedy. All right. So this is the big this is the big matrix here, and then we can move on and maybe look at some of the other links you wanted to bring up. But bro, I have found the entire team of the Avatar series completely alive and well, suspended in the tarot cards. Oh, here, I can do that. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. And what's fascinating is how accurate the technology from the films that I grew up on, how accurately they're being conveyed. Um, I don't know. There's some kind of high grade fidelity going on between the systems that they put into Star Wars and then passing them into this Avatar series. Um, and I'd have to kind of go through one by one, but there are elements that are inaccurate, and that is to say, like, do you know about Toth, the blind girl in the Avatar cartoon?
So I'm not super familiar with the cartoon,
Mhm.
but I saw the movie, the like Last Airbender. I think it's on Netflix or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
I saw that, which is made from the cartoon, if I
Yeah, okay.
understand,
Yeah.
right? Have
Yep.
you seen that?
Yep. Totally.
Um, so the blind girl.
She's over here on the art card.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, when I really cogitate on the elemental values of the cards, they don't always syncopate to the elemental value of the character. And so there is like some degree of disharmony where I want to just exclude it from the formula. And that is to say, like, if I was making this series, I would have been more um, accurate. I think there's an aspect that they disregarded, and that is that elementally they're not perfectly harmonized to what the card is on the zodiac. But regardless of that, they definitely have they're like basically wearing the card as a costume.
That's pretty cool. And so you're saying they messed up.
A little bit. I, yeah, I want to be a real super
Oh,
nerd
you
about it.
crack me up.
Total super nerd about it. But like in some
Uh-huh.
ways they didn't miss a beat. But in some ways, I think there's still something scrambled, just a little bit scrambled. Um, but yeah, so this is kind of evidence to me that this tarot deck is the costume department. And in to a large degree, we can anticipate the character's nature uh, based on these sigils. But then to another degree, we can be pattern prone to migrate out of our natural association over time. And I just think that if we think about the long game story arc of these signs and symbols, then I think there's a way to manufacture the illusion of change or integrate or disintegrate the energies. Um, in here, I just want to share. Oh, this is Ayn Rand's card. The star card is Ayn Rand, which is an anagram for uh, what's her name down here? What is her name?
You cut out for a
Uh,
sec. An anagram for what?
Rihanna. Ayn Rand is a damn anagram for Rihanna.
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 Yeah.
Rihanna. Ayn Rand. Then this was cool. Check this out, PK. Remember the triangle of South America? Was it showing up
Mm-hmm.
on everything? Bro, it's on the stairs right there on one of the oldest books on um, the value of making mistakes. But I see South America on the steps, PK.
All right. I see it. Okay. Are you saying in the white space of the rail
Yeah,
by the guy's leg?
yeah. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. But dude, it's also just such a like triangle pizza. It's like it also too is that. Because look, there's another one under it too. He's standing on it.
Uh-huh.
Do you
Yep.
see it?
It's kind of an echo. Yeah.
You see, it's like a
Uh,
mirror.
like right down here, right?
Yeah, right there.
Yep. Yep. Very fascinating. Well, I just wanted to share with everybody that I actually made this picture of me on the full card way before I found this picture right here. And I was like, oh my gosh, look at the legs.
Wild.
So yeah, pretty sinky. And then PK, bro,
What you
check
got?
check it out, bro. Remember your graph on
Yeah. Dude, are you putting the South America pizza on that too? See, maybe this is all about Pizzagate, man. It's not about
It is between his legs. It is between his legs. All right. I just wanted to close off on
that's hilarious. Oh my
that.
god. You would do that.
Bro, that
That's
was fun.
awesome.
That was fun.
Yeah, thanks for sharing all that stuff, man. Good graphics, kind of right up your alley, right? Hey, what do you think about opening this up?
Yeah, I'm down. Let me see if I can just pop a link.
Drop the throw the link in the chat.
Let me see.
And
Yep, here it goes.
and if anyone wants to click the link and come say a word, where'd you drop it? Oh,
There it is.
why is that? Okay. Boom.
Dragon Sage in the house. Big love and respect, Dragon Sage.
Hey, you should pin it. Or I don't know if you can from here. Well, let's see. Does that pin it? Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. Cool. So yeah, if anyone wants to hop on and say word, ask question, ask Gabe something, whatever.
Yeah, man. Big
Do
up
it up.
Chris Miner in the house. My Cherie.
I was just gonna look at this real quick and see what our comet is doing.
Yeah, buddy. Big love to Emily Moyer out there. Looking forward, sister. Yeah, the unpronounceable comet.
Isn't it like Atlas or something?
Yeah, that's the easy name. Chunchin Chan.
Let's go with the easy name.
This thing is totally doing a Snicker snack on the Draco meteor shower.
And so I think I saw when the eclipse is going to be. It's going to be at maximum. Of course, we won't be able to see it here, but it will be maximum there. Let me change the.
So this event is tomorrow, and it's taking place right under the Bewotid constellation, which is right pretty much where the Sobek on shoes. See Bowotes
there's
right there?
yeah.
Yeah. So right under this Pizzagate of South America at large is where this eclipse is happening in the stars. But the shadow path that it's taking is going to sweep the leg of South America.
Is it going like right here? Will be right in the middle, right?
And it's going to go down on Drake's Passage. It's going to come across like almost Ecuador, and then it dips down the coastline and it sweeps under everything.
So there should be good. I just want to see. So let's see if Stellarium moved the
Ah,
the moon over, and it does. Um, it does move it over. Yeah, that's cool. Make it somewhere up there. No.
and one more wild thing about, finding South America is like encoded in all of the Fool cards is, of course, Brazil is hugely significant, but also in conspiracy culture, Argentina is a big deal too. Uh, a lot of the Operation Paperclip residue is kind of embedded into the name Argentina. And I believe
Nice.
I think Arjun is is Hephaestus to the Hindus. Arjun.
It is super low. Yeah, you're right, man. It is like Drake's way down there.
Right. And this is the bathymetry choke point of the global climate. And so remember when they did a printout of all of what are those health wristwatches that everybody was wearing that has everybody's vitality,
Like biometric
biometric,
something or other. Yeah.
biometric wristwear.
Yeah.
And they all popped up down in Antarctica, tons of them. And so this Drake's passage is, I don't know, it's so highly significant because it's based on
Weather-wise, right?
what's that?
Weather, even weather and
Exactly.
water, basically like current flow, and think wind and water.
Right.
Um,
And it's named
yeah.
after Sir Francis Drake, so there's even like almost that Sir Francis Bacon, almost. It's like Sir
Uh-huh.
Francis Bacon, Bacon gay. Sir Francis Bacon gay.
So then the comet goes around the sun, what, a week later, right? Or something. Or do
About 4
you remember
days.
the date?
Yeah, I think it's on the 8th. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you have the tail turned on, it really is dramatic.
I might,
Makes
yeah. I still haven't upgraded yet. You calling me out. I wonder if it's a setting. I don't know. But man,
and it really looks like a sword slicing around the sun and snicker snacking the head off of the Draco constellation that is erupting for only 3 days. And it's the same window as October 7th of last year. Every year, it's the same window. And so, yeah, we are seeing fascinating echoes of things
what do you
going
mean
on.
every year it's the same window? What
The,
is?
the Draco meteor shower.
Oh, right.
So last year, when the October 7th was going on, the Draco meteor shower was going on. We just weren't studying meteor showers back then. And now we're even realizing that the word media and showers is in the word for
Oh,
these.
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so profoundly, I don't know, obvious on the face of it.
Uh, um, I was gonna click the.
Oh, has anybody tried to join us? I hope. I don't think so.
No.
Okay. Come on, y'all. Come on. Big love, Howard. Argentina is close to Antarctica too. Yes. The painting of Adam reaching for God, I think it's on the Sistine Chapel. And some people say that Adam is telling God, or maybe God is telling Adam to pull his finger. And they're just reaching towards each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think that painting is also signifying Drake's passage. Strangely enough. And they say that if you go to Antarctica, they say first, as you go further and further close to the South Pole, whatever that might be, that first you leave you come to a jurisdiction that there is no more time, and then you come to a jurisdiction where there is no more law, and then you come to a jurisdiction where there's no more God. And that little whatever uh, saying phrase is something from the ancients, but they're talking about it like it's concentric rings. And you leave time, then you leave law, and then you leave God is the last thing left behind.
That's interesting. Do you know where that's from?
It's probably from like Shackleton or something. I don't know. I don't know. I just remember it being very impactful. That's the thing legends are made out of.
Yeah, so it looks like this eclipse is like that's the only land that it's gonna go in. Or they'll all be able to see it, but it looks like that is where it's almost 100. Or I don't know. Is it technically, I guess?
Uh-huh. Just
So
barely.
right there. What's the deal with Drake's Passage? You know?
I know that it's extremely deep waters. I know that a lot of the royal houses make sure that their names are put on these islands. They are totally kind of they're gatekeeping the hell out of whatever Antarctica is supposed to be all about.
Yeah, so pretty much right there. I wonder
Yeah,
what this little island is.
I forget.
Uh,
Um, but Jason Rizza Giorgiani, he's got a whole spiel about the Pleiadians, and um, and I think Argentina is much uh, I don't know implicit to uh, the alien narrative. PK, I remember now.
what you got?
So, um, remember there was a boot from Italy on the neck of the full card, and then a South America between his legs. I
Huh?
was thinking, like, what is this signifying? And it came to me yesterday. The rifle that killed JFK was registered from Italy for only the first 24 hours. And on the second day, it was registered from Argentina.
What?
The rifle that killed JFK, they told us it was an Italian, yada, yada, yada,
Is
yada.
is that is that in the FBI reports?
Yes. And it's to make all the conspiracy heads go crazy and pull their tinfoil
I know.
caps.
No, isn't it just ironic, just so funny that people say what I just said like it
Yeah.
matters?
Right.
Like,
Right.
is that in the FBI report, sir?
They're so
Because if it's not in the FBI report, I don't know if I can believe that. Like, come on.
yes.
Come
Yes.
on.
I thought that was a pretty good humdinger for the full card. If we can tie it to JFK, then it's part of our inheritance.
So that the Italy you're saying could be Florida, no?
Could be.
I
Big
mean,
time.
Florida, Italy
Yeah.
kind of
It,
got the same thing going on.
yep.
But yeah, so this is cool. Are you gonna do anything tomorrow? Like, how do you feel about eclipse energy? You know, um, at places that aren't in the path of the eclipse. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Is the energy a worldwide thing? Um,
Hmm.
is it just local?
That's a good question. I think that you could harmonize your altar if you wanted to the locations where these energies are taking place. And you could uh, use it to either move things out or move things in. I think that that's possible. I think myself, I'm more of the mind to fast and and also to move things out. Uh,
To
but
fast, like
from
the
food,
day of or what?
yeah, the day of, yeah, to not take in for this. And, some people, if you have friends or family down there, you could light candles and think of them. Take even moments of silence are actually fasting. Those are things you can do. Um, there is a study out there that some systems believe that the shape of the path of the eclipse is either a beneficial future if it's a smiley face shape, or it's a detrimental future if it makes a frowny face arc. And I myself, I don't adhere to that, but I find that kind of thinking very magical. I think there is a lot of people who, stick to that like it's the gospel. But
Yeah.
this path doesn't make either. This path makes kind of a sloth from the goose.
Well, I think we should address one problem is that maybe the map that we're looking at isn't, how the world really is.
Good point. Very good point. Very, very.
Because we are looking at a distorted map that is legit Cartesian coordinate wise, but the further south you go, the more it gets messed up. And east to west is a circle, yet the map we were looking at, east to west looks like a straight line. So, I don't think if you're using that map in my world, you're not looking at a real picture of the path. It would make another path. You know what's crazy? Have you ever seen the paths of the luminaries of the planets on a geocentric, like going around above you sort of way? They make the like craziest, most beautiful geometry.
Are you talking about the flowers with the
Yeah.
retrogrades? Like, yes, with the petals.
Mm-hmm.
It's so beautiful. It's the kind of thing that they would you could use to like almost I don't know, to convert somebody who doesn't believe that there's something really freaking miraculous going on with this
Right.
place.
Yeah.
Really, truly miraculous. Especially because they say, like, geometry is the highest form of information, and in love for aesthetic. And you're like, guys, and that you kind of have to work for it, to find that kind of pattern in the world. Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's crazy for me to think about how now we're all about like the algebra and uh I don't know if trig and calculus apply, but algebra definitely does. But how geometry was used for um solving all sorts of problems that you could solve basically with the square and compass, like um dividing up a circle. How do you know how many degrees to divide up a circle? Well, there's like ways to do it like pretty damn precisely, with geometry. So it's like geometry had this extra uh use to it that we don't use today because we have other systems that do it. So I think that's very interesting to look at the geometry in that way, that it had a whole nother um layer to it that we now have oft to, I'm not sure, algebra maybe,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
like some other form. Yeah.
very true. I heard Schopenhauer had a quote about, he was talking about how you could name your myths or your aspects of your story. You could name them um, only tiny fragments of the same word, um, and the readers will pick up on what you're laying down. And he says that they are naturally gifted at the algebra. So he's talking about, you can name a thing like let's just say like uh Tycho Brahe's astronomy academy was called like the uranium I think, or the Uranian. Uh, and Schopenhauer is saying that you only need to name it a couple syllables or even a couple similar letters, and that the people are really good at algebra to fill in the difference. And I realize he's kind of given up the goods on how a lot of the psyops of naming like drugs or naming Hamas, you know, they choose these phonetics to strike fear in the hearts of men. And it's because we're good at algebra.
So it's looking like here, from looking at this, it looks like to me that the eclipse is going to be at solar noon, or like the maximum of what the eclipse is, I guess down in South America.
Yeah.
It translates over to 2:45 p.m. Eastern is when the time is that it's at its max down there.
Man, it's too bad it wasn't 235 because that's the number we've been tripping on.
Right? Yeah. And so
Double
I
big.
wonder if this ain't the right site. So there's a man, what is that solar website? There's a way I could look up when solar noon is. Here it is. No, it's not. It changed it on me.
Big ups to Polymathin in the house. Burr, burr, burr.
Polymathin.
It's raining too hard to drive. He had to pull over. He says 23 in the chat just turned to 24. James Kaplan. Big love and respect. What's up, Chris? Big love, y'all. Links in the chat. Y'all can jump in if you're feeling it.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared, guys. Say hi. So solar noon is at an hour before 1:46. At least here.
Man, you know, Chance did the show today about the midwives. And I was thinking about that Crator constellation right there. And, you know, it could
Where?
even, the cup right next to the crow.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. I was thinking that could even constitute, it's not fully like a bath. It's too small to be a bath, but it's at least the bath water. You know what I mean? Like they always talk about don't throw the baby out without the black, or don't throw the baby out with the bath water. You know, there's something about that Crator constellation has definitely metaphorically poured a lot of bath water, I'd say.
Let me let the pup out real quick.
Yeah, buddy.
Just 2 seconds.
Right on, right on. Love the recent tag team with McHugh. You were rocking the pun foo. And that was fun. That was really that was really great. Yeah, big love, Polly. So PK, can you nice. Earlier today you were talking about Descartes, and
Yeah.
you shared some links on some of the Cartesian split. What were your thoughts about that?
Yeah. So Descartes, I got this thing with philosophy. First off, that I have trouble reading, that I don't find much interest in philosophers. Basically, from the 16th century is kind of, or what's it? Actually, the 17th century, so like 1600s, is like a wash. and then forward toward present time, I feel like those guys are just way too wordy and say shit that they could have said in like an eighth of the time that they they're so long-winded and like try to sound so smart and all this crap. So, but then philosophers before, I find easier to read, more relatable, and things like that. And so it's weird even just saying this now, that's like, Descartes was the 1600s, was he not? Or he was like that time. I said this shit before I even knew that Descartes was at that time. And so anyway, I was watching a YouTube like a playlist from this guy doing a I don't know how to say his name because he's like Muslim. It's a long name. Some doctor. Do you know how to say his name? Do you know his name? Yeah.
Nope, but let me see if I can pull it up.
So I could pull it up real quick on the YouTube. Anyway, so he does a The Reign of Quantity is a book by Rene Guénon. And it's a pretty good book, but it basically talks about here it is.
And Rene Guénon is an anagram for Enneagram.
For Enneagram.
Enneagron.
So it is let me share my screen real quick. Sorry, trying to talk and do this. Think it'd be easier. It's basically a book about the rise of scientism, materialism, whatever. You could tell kind of by the title that it's talking about the reign of quantity, as in quantity over quality, right? The whole quantitative versus qualitative thing, and how if you can't measure it, then it's not real, and it's like oh, an angel, I knew an angel was there. Well, do you think when the angel comes back that I can use my infrared technology and somehow see it? So this idea that anything that's real is because of the senses, and all this extra stuff is basically like the MRI, the infrared, the everything is just an extension, right, of our senses. Right.
Totally.
It's tools that we use to extend our senses a little bit, but still it fits in this bucket of it's only real if it's measurable, detectable by the senses. And so he gets into that idea, and there's this one chapter, but here it is, the channel. Just search Reign. You could just search Reign of Quantity and it comes up if you're interested. But my favorite one was this. It was like chapter 13, 14 are my favorite, probably 14, the chapter 14. He talks about kind of when this shift occurred, and Guénon and other people placed this on Descartes as to say it kind of like started with the ancient Greeks. You can kind of see the spark of it then, but then with Descartes and his philosophy, and I don't know, maybe just the zeitgeist at the time, who knows, right? But
yes.
From there started then physics as we know today, the whole materialism, physics, atomism stuff that the true scientism ideology was kind of born from there, and people pinpoint it back to Descartes. I'm not sure I know enough of Descartes to know exactly why, but I do know that he talked about, was he a proponent of the Cartesian duality, basically that mind and body is different.
Totally. Yes. And Descartes is a real highly significant just word. But conceptually, this is a huge gashing hallmark or way marker in the psychology of the collective. Um, but what's fascinating is that even in the hallways of academia, they will agree, and everybody will nod along and be like, "Yes, Descartes. He gave us the thought of, oh, maybe this demiurgic entity from the beyond that we call God, maybe it's not looking out for our well-being. Maybe it's mischievous, maybe it's malevolent even."
See, I don't get why are people putting that on Descartes? Because wasn't that what they say is Gnostic? That was like a Gnostic thing,
Way before
which
him.
was way before him. So why is this getting attached to him? Did he was that his
Because
message? Was that in his message?
that was one of his thought experiments that he gets
Huh.
the credit for. But we happen to know that the Gnostics were all about that a long time. But he is kind of like just a little, it's almost like a leak of the Gnostic worldview that gets into academia. But thereby they can dismiss it very quickly. They can say we've transcended all that, but in the strangest way, uh, he's tipping his hand. I think he's tipping his Gnostic hand with that demiurgic stuff. And yes, yes.
I love it.
And he also, because he was kind of injured, like not very healthy. Um, he was taken out by a storm. You know, he had to wake up too early in the morning and go into work for the princess. Um, to some degree, he kind of has that chironic injured healer in his archetype. But I also see in his name and in a great many things, I see the charioteer of Ariga, the Hephaestus, Vulcan, Erichthonius. All of these characters are broken the bottom part of their body, but their mind is like super innovative and they have upper strength but lower weakness. And somehow Descartes' entire jam is playing into the archetype of Ariga. And I got to say, Descartes in Portuguese is giter. Giter is almost the word charioteer in Portuguese.
Hmm.
Yeah, and also like to discard is to be thrown out or exempt or exiled. That's totally what Hephaestus goes through in his life a couple times.
So this might be like a very in-depth question, even if you do know the answer, but do you know why then people can kind of make the claim or the statement that because of Descartes, it, you know, humanity or whatever philosophy, science went
Yeah,
off in this materialistic way? Do you know enough
I
of
think
why the reasoning is people say that?
yes, I think so. One aspect to consider is how a symbol of affluence was even into the Greeks was like the proletariats, and also their sometimes their class was literally like those who own horses. Like the word that translates to the middle class or the upper class are like the horse people. Um, and so now that's way back in the day, but in the days of Descartes, uh, also to have an entourage, to have like bodyguards and uh, so much property that you have multiple chariots moving your property around. Like these are symbols of affluence. And then also the fact that the plow, you can now hook on a plow and attach it to your animal and let the animal drag the plow to plow the field to do the labor for you. So even the farmers are now charioteers. And not only that, but the charioteer who has the most badass tractor or plow being drawn by the animal, they have uh, they have more innovative returns for their effort. And so the timing for somebody to separate man from their body was strangely perfect. It's like it's I mean, I don't think anybody's ever written about it this way, but this is the age that we leave walking around everywhere and we're like, "Hey, get on this machine instead." and you can plow fields. You can do the work of 10 men. You can magnify and enhance your impact onto the earth. So people were like, this is kind of like Elon Musk with the brain chip. It's like, yeah, we can get you, load you up in your consciousness onto this thing and you'll live forever.
So does this what you're talking about, does this have to do you're just pointing out maybe the coincidence of timing with Descartes' ideas and this seemingly unrelated, advance in technology and life or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that a lot of what, and also people think of this immigration, like the Romas, or what people used to call the gypsies. When they go onto their wagons and they start living on their wagons, they're living on the move. And then even one more thing here is the word escargot is a French faux pas word for the vagabonds or the homeless people that even take their whole belongings on their back. And so in Descartes' time, we could definitely say that there was a lot of that immigration crisis in its own what case. And yeah, consciously, I think people were ready to, okay, yeah, I'm separate from my body, you know, and it even helps get over trauma to some degree for some folks. It's like, yeah, okay, uh, yeah, it gives you, how do I say this? It gives you a growth plane. It gives you a place to grow in the mind, more so than anything that can be proven in the physical.
One of the so one of the things that this guy says on the hold on. One of the things the guy says on this lecture that was kind of to your point here, was about how someone came up to him or maybe this is hypothetical, but someone came up to him and was like, I got a problem. He's like, oh yeah, I think you're cursed. I think whoever, whatever put this like spell on you and you got the evil eye or whatever. Right. And, and so, that person would be, pretty much anyone today will be like, you're like batshit crazy. What are you talking about? I'm not cursed. Like, what are you smoking? And what would be what's he pointed out was that, okay, well, now what if you take that same person, they're like, I got something going on with me, and then you stuck them in an MRI machine, charged them $2,000, and then diagnosed them.
Right.
You might not say like, oh, you're cursed, but you could say, do you see the correlation here? Do you see the kind of what's weird about it? And immediately, you might be like, oh, well, the MRI, they're seeing something like, but that's exactly the point. That's
Yes.
exactly the point, that is where our minds go today, because of how ingrained this is in us. It's just, and again, to use the word, the zeitgeist is this kind of lean toward this material kind of point of view. And he also had a good point of talking about there's two different kinds of materialists. And, one is like one that will just, tell you straight up that they are, right? And the other one is the one that will go to church, believe in God and all this, but then
Their
they
default.
claim that they're not. Yeah, it was something like, I forget what the term he used, but it was just such a good example that it's like then the fake ones that don't say they are, but totally are. And
It
it's
just,
like, man,
yeah,
I fall into that. Sometimes I'm like, I'm sure I do. I'm sure I do.
yeah,
I'm
man.
sure we might all at some point. And again, I don't think there's a fine line here, right and wrong, right?
Mhm.
It's just an interesting topic to think about.
Yeah, man. That was a great episode. I might link that in the show notes afterwards.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. So nobody's taking this up. I dropped the link a couple times, but uh Polymath, and he says humanity taking the Z plane to the new age.
Um, so Gabe,
Yeah, buddy.
look at your you got StreamYard opened in a browser?
I
Oh,
think
did he not say that in a comment?
it's in the chat.
So, do you got StreamYard open in the browser?
I think so. Yeah. Yep.
Click comment.
Oh, let's see.
We gotta
Click on.
get you up to speed here, man, with this.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Here we go. Oh, wow. Just show it. Boom. Check you
Boom.
out. Boom. What's up, y'all? Here comes some
Hell yeah.
Kaplan.
There you go.
Impulses of the age. That was easier than I ever imagined.
Oh, it's so easy. I was super surprised myself.
Big fun. Dragon Sage, much respect, champion. Dragon Sage got the devil's tone right there. Do you see his
Ooh, it's
graphic?
the black sun.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, man.
I like it.
Some wild numbers right there. And then to both the spiritual and the harmonic transhumanist currents. Yes. So Descartes and Thomas Hobbes were kind of cohorts, and they wrote back and forth. They kind of accused each other of jacking one another's ideas, but they both kind of get the credit for accusing humanity of being automatons. And
Yeah.
and that's fascinating because a lot of people will jump and use the word social contract. People still use the word social contract, but in order to use that word, you kind of have to agree to think 400 years ago thoughts where the paradigms were totally something,
Is
unthinkably different.
automaton equivalent to NPC, you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just that, and what Gurdjieff, I think he called robot or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Hobbes,
Come on
go
in.
ahead. Go ahead.
It looks like
Oh,
Chris
cool.
wants to come on. Yeah, that sounds good.
Oh yeah. Come on. Yeah. So Hobbes wrote Leviathan, right?
Mhm.
And there's some other work, but yeah, it's just crazy. Even I breezed through it, and to now know the connection with Descartes is kind of crazy.
Yes.
Those two were, and so he was English, right? Or did he live in America? Hobbes.
English.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Descartes was French.
French. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. And something fascinating was happening before Descartes and even after. Is the time period of what's called the Great Vowel Shift, and this is the time when they were kind of getting rid of the Chaucerian form of English and moving into a more Shakespearean form of English. And you could say this was it was a huge linguistical reforming that I think we lost at least 9 diphthongs, and there's even way more than just the 9. But also they say that the tone of the English voice was raised in pitch, more high pitched, and it lost a lot of its lower tonality. In
Whoa. Say that again.
the English voice became
Uh-huh.
higher pitched, and it lost its lower pitch overall because
It was like Cheerio, and then went Cheerio.
something like that, and it's just wild because the diphthongs are like generally are vowels that are fused at the hip. They're like Siamese twins, these diphthongs.
Is that actually how you say the word? I've always wondered.
Diphthongs?
Yeah, is diphthongs how you say it? Because
Yep.
that's how I always say it, but I don't know if it's like.
Maybe
Have you ever heard someone say it before?
I don't know. It sounds like an invitation to a Freudian slip.
Yeah. Yeah, they took our diphthongs. So yeah, I think the big
here we go.
the Shakespeare Guild and the KJV 1611 writers, I I don't know when Descartes and Hobbes were. Were they
Um,
alive at that time, 1611? Um,
yes, Hobbes was 1588 to
oh,
1679.
yep, he's all up in it.
Yep, and then I think uh,
Who's the other one? You
Rene
said
Descartes was
Hobbes.
very maybe a little younger, but the same window.
Hobbes, 1588. Yeah, Descartes,
Yep, and they are
1596 to 1650. Dude,
yes,
dude, that time. Okay, this is kind of
yeah,
it's putting a lot together for me because I don't know if you remember a little while back weaving on talking about pointing there at that, which isn't like something new, but like that time of Queen Elizabeth I and John Dee and Shakespeare and the Bacon, and then after Queen Elizabeth I was the 1611, right? I think King James was right after Queen Elizabeth I, I think. But pointing to that time and being like, yo, this is when, you know, they did some stuff. They got together and like really, maybe it was the British Empire kind of takeover, right? Was at that time and kind of really seriously expanding powers and banking and all that crap. And
yes,
and so this is just crazy to me that it's lining up
yep,
also with people pointing at that Descartes is right there in it as well.
yes.
Let me look up King James one.
I want to mention, from 1400s is kind of where this starts. It is 1440 is pretty much when the printing press comes out. And then Machiavelli is on the scene. He's born in 1469 and lives until 1527. So the printing press, and then Machiavelli, and then we get Hobbes. And so the psychological operations that are going on along parallel to Shakespeare are just, I mean, they totally define our reality bubbles. They still define our reality bubbles. And then I want to just kind of suggest that when we lost the diphthongs, I wonder if we lost future tense verbs, PK. I wonder if the diphthongs eroded the future tense verbs from our psyche.
The future tense verb thing is so hard to wrap your head around, you know.
Yeah,
Um
buddy.
it's so hard to wrap your head around of what that could even mean, what it could entail. It's so foreign from us and
Right.
from most languages that exist today
Yes.
that I just don't even know. Like, I don't know what implications, right? It would have, or it could have, because we're just so used to be like, I will be running tomorrow. You know,
But two or
I'm
three, maybe four. There might be four words that'll get
I'm
you a future tense
well,
verb.
you could also say going to. That's kind of more slang, right? It would wait, does that?
That would make it
Yeah, I don't
present
know if
tense
that would,
because you'd have
yeah,
to say
maybe
am. I am going to.
I am going to, right, right.
It is so fascinating, the future tense verbs. And I just want to keep it uh on the hot seat. I want to keep it on the front burner because imagine what happens with like Jason Brashears when you predict the future. They're like, oh, cult. This guy's predicting the future. Cult, get him out. He's just, and then the other thing, when you go to a psychologist, one of the first things they say is, are you hearing voices? Are you answering the voices? And so there's something about, I think of it as talent scouting that goes on in our community where if somebody is predicting the future, we put them on the hot seat. It becomes almost a witch hunt in and of its own right. But then just think of this, PK, they just legalized betting to the next umph degree. And people who can predict the future make that's how the Back to the Future did the pivot on the plot line
They
was on
legal, what'd you say, betting?
Betting, yes. They've made betting even more legal, more socially acceptable. The betting industry is being throttled big time.
All right, is this a euphemism? Betting. What are you talking about?
Betting, like gambling.
Betting. Okay.
Sorry. Yes,
I
no,
see.
gambling.
See, meteor shower. Meteor shower. Is that M or is that a D or T? Betting.
Betting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They have. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I know that the Dow Jones are they are the speculators. They are basically Satan and God watching over Job and taking bets over how he's going to react. That industry is so huge. And I listened to the Gematrinator or Gematrinator just the other day, and he says that people actually make him offers for him to guess numbers on games and sports.
What?
Yeah, people are tripping. And I just realize all the time how my synchromysticism could very easily be latched on by people who are into gambling, or in a position to throw money away on whimsy like that. So when I think of the future tense verbs, I also think of like ESP and psychic recruiting agendas. But then I also think of the gambling industry. Isn't that wild?
Yeah. I wonder too if it has to do with sort of the whole legal stuff, because I feel like at that time also they made leaps and bounds in kind of legal reform, and it kind of like set up I don't know if this is right, but like titles and deeds and taxes and land ownership and international this or that, a lot of that stuff was happening at this time. And yeah, I did check, it was Queen Elizabeth was basically 1600, then after her was King James the First, and you got all the culprits right up there at that time. So I wonder if that's related too. But and then here's another question: did English ever have future tense verbs? It might not have.
Right. Well, I think there is something between the Shakespearean style to the Chaucerian style. I think there was much more freedom and kind of improvising, and spelling it close enough is perfect, because things were not so
Oh,
standardized.
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so there was a lot more like whimsy for cipher.
I like they would spell fire Fyre. No one
Yeah.
cared.
Yep.
It might have
Totally.
been right, but like, yeah, they would totally just spell it kind of like it sounds,
Hmm.
and if you can read it, it's good enough.
Right. Right. Oh, and also
Because I don't think there wasn't dictionaries back then. That's another thing.
the
Webster, ooh,
encyclopedias.
Webster bought up everything. So even I'm having some okay, and I kind of think there's something to this.
Uh-huh.
Um, the we got someone.
Oh, we do.
I yeah, I cut you off too. Let's add stage.
Hey,
What up?
Gareth!
How you doing?
Big love and respect champion.
Much love. Quite nervous to be on. Thanks for letting me on. Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. So glad
Good
you
to see you,
made
man.
it.
Yeah.
So
Just
real
sorry, go on. Sorry, PK.
let me just finish my thought real quick about this dictionary
Yeah,
thing. The Webster takeover they bought, and so I think there's some might be some truth to this, because I go back and I look up I think it was called Random House or whatever. So I was looking for a dictionary Random House, which I think is was in the 70s or even before. Anyway, I was looking up this other dictionary that allegedly hadn't been touched by Webster until they bought them at some point. So I was looking for the previous ones and I couldn't find them. I'm talking just on the internet. I'm sure they're out there in print, but I thought that was really odd that of how prevalent dictionaries are online, how easy it is to get free things. I couldn't find this specific, like, even just pre this date Random House dictionary I was searching for. And because I think there might have been, I don't know, Webster, that is just another thing of this language thing, how they bought all the dictionaries kind of and wrote their own story. So sorry,
You
just
know,
want to finish that out.
yeah, I'm thinking of Webster as it might relate to the web of stars. And today we have Starlink. And then I'm also thinking of the Reticulum constellation is number 82 on the IAU. But yeah, and Netflix, right? The Starlink, the Reticulum, the web of stars. What's up, Gareth?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, because that's in French, you've got étoile and toile. So you've got web and stars are the same, just for that vowel change. So that's really beautiful.
Huh.
Yeah.
Toile is like a web.
Yeah, toile is web and étoile is the stars. Yeah.
So you speak French or you just know a
I
bit?
try.
Yeah.
Again,
Very
after
cool.
Yeah, after 10 years, I should be really a lot better than I am. But
Oh, do you live in France?
yeah. So just
Right on.
in the Dordogne at the moment. But yeah, it's weird weather, really strange. But I think everywhere has been having that. It's we just haven't had a summer at all. It's just gone from like winter, spring, straight to autumn. So yeah, it's just weird, and everyone's getting ill. So that's shit's getting serious. But anyway, I really wanted to mention the weave you have with the shin, lower leg, South America, Africa correspondence,
Yeah, man.
and your lunar eclipse going at the bottom is so like for me the moon doing that is very much like the scythe.
Yes.
And that recent episode you did with Jason with the 23.5,
Yeah, man.
adding them together gives 47. Am I right?
Yep.
But I'm just messing around with numbers at the moment. So rather than just being 47 of a thing, it's just like, well, what's 4? What's 7? What's the magnification of 4 by fire? So it's more like the tin, the tone, rather of the 10 of 4. So it's really like severing the 4. It's severing that tonal resonance of the 4 rather than it just being a 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, Jason, you having that episode at the same time that you're then spitting that lunar scythe at the bottom of South America.
Yeah, man.
And South America and Africa are just so correspondent. And everything, obviously what's kicking off in Israel and Palestine at the moment. But that South America and Africa, for me, it's been like, it's not only the crocodile tooth, but it's the shoulder blade and it's that lower, it's the leg, it's that shin. It's kind of like all, depending on what story,
Yeah.
it's one of those or all of them or just. So that 47 is more like in the analema is obviously 4 and 4. You got the top 4 and the lower 4. And the 7 is the severance. It's the bevel, which cuts. And you've got this moon doing the scythe. And then it's like, well, it's a lower, he's got the, I don't know why, but the crocodile. That's it, the tooth. It's also the crocodile tooth. It's like the shark's tooth, the crocodile's tooth. And it's like the crocodile, the crow.
It totally looks like a tooth.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, it's like, is there also a correspondence with the croc and the dial, the crow, the croc of the Nile? Because in French, like denial is like
Yes.
be sort of the Nile.
Right. Totally. And I call it the Sobek on shoes, which is
Yeah.
so much information we're in denial of that we take in so much with our Sobek on shoes, our subconscious.
Yeah, so I
Great.
just really want to share that. It's just that the synchronicity is beautiful.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
I did share a post for on the Guardian UK newspaper. They had, it was only yesterday, they had this big takeover with, it's like a high-end uh, like a fashion designer called
Uh-huh.
Mulberry. And you've got the meteorite shower going off at the moment, and Mulberry is made up of lots of miniature berries.
Damn.
And the company that they're owned by, their name is Fraser, which is in French strawberry. It's phonetically strawberry, which is fraise, like fraise.
Yes.
So you've got the constellations going off. You've got Cassiopeia, which in French is like a small berry, the cassis. It's a small, very dark purple berry, much like if you broke up a mulberry. And
Whoa.
on the front of the Guardian, they've got this literally the picture of the handbag, which is like a tambourine, which you've just been weaving on. And she's holding it like a tambourine, as you would bang a tambourine on your hip. Yeah, it's just it's on the
Is
same.
that what that's Cassiopeia?
Well, yeah, it all ties into, because you on your last episode you were talking about the meteorite and
Yeah.
comet, and you've just got this big money takeover of this fashion company that's got the mulberry, the strawberry, which is also like the many-eyed berry.
Totally. And you know what
And
else? You got me thinking about what sound does the bank love to hear?
yeah, I don't,
It's like the jingle of coins, right? It also, in capoeira, the performers sometimes they'll pass the pandero around as an offering plate. And so people will actually put money as a tithing or as a offering, a votive offering to the capoeira players. So,
nice.
yeah, so there's a lot of sacredness to the tambourine, the pandero. I love that weave on the berries, though. You know, that makes me think of like the missing 411 cases where people have kids say they were surviving off of berries for a long period of time, but then
Right.
and then they disappear and reappear elsewhere. People are like, I want to try what berries those kids are teleporting on.
Yeah, that's got a bit of a DC Hellman weave to it, I feel, and the purple juice kind of weird shit. But yeah,
Yeah, you're probably right.
yeah, won't go into that. But
Brother, thank you so much for calling in tonight.
yeah,
You
cool.
know, I have to hit the restroom if you guys can weave without me for a minute.
I'll try my best.
Yeah.
All right,
We could
buddy.
we'll bring Chris in too for, I don't know if you saw him.
Oh no, is he in the
Yeah. We'll bring Chris in.
Oh right.
We'll weave for a second.
Here we go.
Go
What up? What's up?
Big ups, Chris. I'll
You
be
guys
right
What
back,
up, Chris?
buddy. I'm listening in the chat.
Yeah. So what's going on, Chris?
What's going on? What's going on?
So
I might have forgot what I was gonna weave in at this point, but I'll weave
you were
whatever
sitting
you
there
guys
for
are
a
rolling with.
minute. You were sitting there for a minute. I didn't
Oh,
want to
so
interrupt.
it's all
Gabe.
good. I was
Yeah.
running around anyways, trying to help the girlfriend get ready for work before I got on, so it took me a little while to get the computer loaded up. So no worries at all, dude.
So where are you calling in from?
I'm out in California right now.
Nice.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How long you been there?
about 12 years now. Yeah,
Nice.
I'm from New Jersey originally, so
Oh man.
yeah, it's like a big change.
From
big change.
one armpit to another. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right there.
I grew up outside of Philly, so
Oh, okay.
I like joking with Jersey people about.
Yeah, no,
about that
I went
stuff.
to Villanova for 2 years before transferring out,
Yeah.
so I was in and out of Philly all the time. Wound up
Nice.
working at like King of Prussia Mall for
Okay, that's
for a year while I
exactly
was there.
where I grew up. That's the
Oh,
town I grew
no way,
up
no
in.
way.
Yeah. King of
Nice.
Prussia. And just like, and then
Yeah.
getting into all this, man, the Prussians, like, they had a huge, I'm like, why is my town called King of Prussia? And they said it was because the King of Prussia came and visited there at one point, way back when, And it was crazy. It was an inn. I think Gabe's coming through. It was a inn that was there, and so it was like King of Prussia, but then they expanded the highway. So that the place King of Prussia where I grew up had like the biggest mall on the East Coast store wise. It was like ridiculously stupid.
Yeah.
There were stores in there that is like, is this real? Like no one.
I think it's the second
How
biggest mall in the whole country,
yeah,
if not
it's
the
insane.
world.
So it like
It's a little
blew up.
huge.
They then made a 2-lane road of 4-lane. And anyway, they had to move this building. So they moved it like, you know, a mile down the road off the like main, because it was literally going on the main road of 202 right through there. But it's just crazy looking back at the Prussians and how much they had a impact on, I think, especially our education system, right? I think that's where they got a lot of so it's just weird in hindsight, kind of learning all this stuff after.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, even because I was just even where I went to school out there, like finding out afterwards that it was like all Jesuits, and then finding out even the schools I had went to in New Jersey. Actually, every school I went to was a Jesuit-run school. I had no idea at the time until afterwards. So it's just wild learning afterwards how much influence these people have over the like everything.
Yep.
From education to commerce. It's wild.
Dude, I want to bring up the picture again.
Bring it up.
Let me bring it up again. Hold on. Let me find it. Oscar Ichazo,
That one.
who put the personalities on the Enneagram, looks just like Ignatius Loyola, y'all. I can't stop chewing on that.
Oh, should we talk about me questioning you?
Yeah. All the
You
time.
know what I'm talking about? Okay. So I was asking Gabe, I don't know, yesterday or the day before, or whatever. I was like, so have you ever thought about the Enneagram that Gabe's so in love with here and makes his board of and does, you know, puts his cards on, is based on the personality system, right? That was developed and then developed by the Jesuits, a Jesuit, whatever. And then, you know, we were just talking about their power, their reach, whatever. It was disseminated to the masses, handed over to the masses. So my question was, have you ever thought about, and I don't know if you guys are aware, probably, I'd imagine a lot of you are that listen to the show, know about Gurdjieff and his Enneagram thing. And he was kind of like the first, he was before, if I understand the timeline correctly, he was before this Jesuit put forward the personality thing. So, and Gurdjieff didn't use the Enneagram really in that way. He used it. It was like do, re, mi stuff. So he had the music going on tied to like octaves. It was very mathematical. Some other of his disciples, I don't know, his followers, developed a system to where they used the Enneagram for like almost anything, like activities. To, if you want, you know, it would be like from 1 to 9, you write it all out, the steps of this activity or event, or if you were going to make something or whatever, and you had to, at certain places, he called them shocks, you had to kind of do something to continue the process forward, and you had to like give this process a shock at 3 and 6 or whatever, and then 9 you're complete. So what I'm getting at is that this Enneagram thing that Gurdjieff brought over, who claimed, you know, it was from some people that no one can verify, used it in a very different way. Okay. And so I was asking Gabe if he's ever thought about the Jesuits kind of putting forward this personality thing, so willingly giving it out to the public. Now it's inundated. If you search Enneagram or or ask anyone about the Enneagram immediately, they'll be like, oh, the personality thing. Yeah, I'm a 4 or whatever they say. So my question was, is it possible that this was put forward? Guess I'm a little too long-winded. That this was put forward as a, I don't know, what do you call it, Gabe?
An entrainment code.
Yeah, put forward as a cover-up to potentially cover up the real power of the Enneagram and like all these other things that you could do with it. Did the Jesuits, put forward this personality thing,
Right.
to cover it up, essentially?
Yep. I ponder. Sometimes nice.
Internet after ever since we've been doing around little shows, like 3 weeks. I think I started with you guys and constant like I think it's all through Los Angeles. One's been having issues.
I think
You're down
everything was roboted.
Yeah, I'm on Ethernet too, which is just insane.
Try cut off your video. See if
You're getting better.
Yeah. There you go.
There.
I think
Yeah,
that's clean.
Weird. It's even like just when I turn on my phone now, for some reason, the whole internet like restarts. Or if my girlfriend turns on her like the TV to use the Apple TV or something, all of our internet will
Cut you off
just
at the
restart.
end.
See, what the hell?
No, I heard you.
You heard him
know.
at the end? Okay.
Yeah, you sound. I think that worked.
Nice.
So anyway,
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's acting up.
Huh.
But go on, guys. Sorry about that.
All is well. Yeah. So I brought to bear some of the evidence from the book that is.
Yeah, you want to pull that up?
Yeah, I put it in my Telegram group. I put a few images, starting with the book, and then I got the picture of Ichazo in there, and on the end I've got the Antarctica map. But we should start with the book. So yeah, I brought forward for PK some of the fundamentals from the book that is called Plot Development for Rapid Story Writing, that is based on the Enneagram.
Oh, see, hold on. You let that part out.
That it's about writing stories?
No. I knew there was an Enneagram thing, but I thought this was from the Jesuit book. Your main book, your path to wisdoms or spirituality, whatever.
No,
this is a different.
That's a different book.
Who's the author?
Yeah, this is the Jesuit book.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah.
And let me go grab the other book just to show people, because it is super useful. But have you seen the Book of Eli, PK? With
the Book of Eli
with Denzel Washington?
With Denzel?
Oh, no.
Have you seen it, Chris?
Yeah, I've seen it.
All right. I think the Enneagram is what the Book of Eli is all about. And
okay.
And these books I'm sharing are the eyes to see, so you can read the Braille. Hold on.
It's a PK. If you haven't seen that movie, basically Denzel's like he's carrying around what is thought to be the Bible.
Ooh,
and it's like the last copy. And Gary Oldman's like a villain in the movie, trying to get. He's like the villain of the story who wants that book to control the masses, but then it winds up being in Braille because Denzel's blind.
And you find out you have to go back to watch the whole movie all over again and find out how it makes sense that he was at.
Jeff Lyons. You cut out, Gabe.
Yeah, he cut out.
So, yeah, you cut out, Gabe.
Sorry. Yeah. So even the scenes where he's fighting, you have to look back and be like, damn, he's being guided by the spirit of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely think the Enneagram is kind of, you could switch it in for the Bible there because of the social engineering. He wanted the codes to social engineering. And so, yeah, this is, go ahead, Chris.
This is interesting too, because there's also, you said this book in particular is about developing story, right? Developing like almost scripts, or I guess story outlines.
Yes.
The way they have the lines in the Enneagram set out, it almost reminds me of like yarn, like string.
Yes.
And there's another book that's similar to this called Save the Cat that's very popular, where it's all about storytelling. And I'm starting to wonder if that's related to this in some way. And I believe on the cover there's a cat playing with yarn, playing with string.
Very fascinating. Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yes. So something that this book talks about is they do adhere to the theory of like that there's an integrating process, which is to say beneficial for the character, or like leading towards a happy ending, or our natural propensity towards what is good, beautiful, and just. But then there is also a disintegrating theory that you can steer people into the negative, or the you could call it the Angry Manu, the spirit of Angry Manu, the disassociating.
Mm-hmm.
And so right here, he uses the term that you're getting your protagonist to the proper emotional endpoint for the story. And my point is that I believe the avant-garde, the vanguard, the social engineers of our day have been steering us away from the proper emotional endpoint. And they can run that for a long, prolonged period, especially when they see economic collapse on the horizon and they need the frenzies to get really throttled. But then at the bottom, it talks about people's relationships. At the fundamental of every human being, there is some derivative of the child's relation to the mother, or to the father, or to only the mother, or to only the father, or to be ambivalent towards both. And this is kind of like I think the intake of psychological evaluating on a person. Some of the first personal questions you would ask them is how they relate to their feminine or their masculine. And this kind of maps out all of those associations in a fascinating way.
And so this, yeah, it was really cool because you got everyone, right? It's a parent, it's a mom, dad, child. And then thinking the like triplicity of it, or really like the duality with then the midpoint. It's essentially what this is, because right, the ambivalent, that's like you don't care, or you're just medium rare, right?
Neutral, yeah, yeah,
Neutral. So it's got this, everyone has this 3-factor, right? How you get into the world. You got a mom, dad, and you're the kid. Same like father, son, whatever, Holy Ghost, Trinity thing going on. And then you play this with all three of them have relationships with each other. And that's what's laid out here. And so that was pretty cool.
yeah.
Because that's a 9. You add up all those relationships, right? You got medium rare. You got negative dad. No, it's negative both parents. Where's the negative mom? Negative mom. Yeah, anyway, you do that, you got,
Yeah.
it comes to 9.
Yep. And it's almost, you could almost think of this as like a 9-part Rochambeau of sorts. And like, yeah, in a fascinating way, like the full spectrum of the human experience kind of matriculates through these associations in just a way that, like I was telling PK, I don't think it has to be mystical. You know, you could untangle it and just turn it into a round table. But for some reason, there are internal connections energetically that become kind of I guess crowd psychology inevitabilities might be how this would come across, you know?
Yeah. What I was putting forward too, it's kind of just challenging, making making Gabe think a little bit, is
Yeah.
that, you know, couldn't we create a system like this, a personality thing that had 8, you know, and make it work?
Mhm.
Or could we add 3 and make one 12? Well, that, you know, that line up with the zodiac nicely, and like, you know, so we can make the what you know of the Enneagram now, add 3 more, and you know, so it was kind of just to this playing with this theory of the potential, and maybe they're covering it up with this personality thing that works great. It have to spread it out for people to accept it, right? That's kind of how they do stuff.
Yes.
But you know, why did they choose 9? Why did they choose the Enneagram? And you know, that was my real thing, just playing with the numbers. You know, why couldn't we do this with 7?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Why not like a 10 base or
why not a
like
10?
you were saying 12 or 12 base system? Like, I mean,
we can, it
it
can
could
make it
work.
work. It could work.
Yeah. Something that I want to do to kind of run it through a test is see how the tree of life fits on here. You know, where would Yesod be? Where would Tifereth land? And I've seen other people try to do that, but I want to take myself through it. I want to try to convince myself of that as well, because I'm sure there's some sort of dance that they could both do.
I did hear you say, you told Joe Roop that you were gonna look into the
Trees of life.
Kabbalah stuff. Do you know? And as soon as I heard that, I was like, no, the fuck he's not.
I want to though. I do want.
I was like, no, he's not.
There's
He totally just saying that.
there's a part of me that's like, if it's not broke, why are you trying to fix it? But so PK, can you pull up Oscar Ichazo just for bragging rights? I just love this one. I got to show this every time. I can't believe
Yeah.
Oscar Ichazo. So Chris, you probably saw me posting some stuff in the Telegram the other day about like Philip K. Dick. Did you see?
Yeah.
You saw I was on the a PKD.
Oh, yeah.
So Picadon in Japanese means atomic bomb. And so in the strangest way, when we say words like even peekaboo, sometimes peekaboo comes across in the Japanese language as atomic bomb. But every time we've said PKD, it's referring to Philip K. Dick, we're also buzzing a trauma word for this select culture in Japan.
Well, think of even the with cartoons, like you're always bringing up Pikachu. That's so close to that.
You got it. You got it. And so something that just always gets me is how easily we fall into trigger phrases that just we don't have the context for, but we proliferate it. And sure enough, it's kind of a dark whisper in the ears of other people in the world. But yeah, PK found this picture of Oscar Ichazo, and he is clearly trying to look like Ignatius Loyola.
Yeah.
And
Totally. Look at
yes.
that. Yeah.
And to such an extent that I just want to put this on people's radar that I really do suspect that they named the number 6 personality type the Loyalists. I think they gave them that name to channel veneration to this right here. And Chris, you're talking about all the Jesuits and all the schools and how they've been here forever. And yeah, how there's kind of there's a Borg. There's a great Borg, and it seems that resistance has been futile for a long time.
Yeah. It was interesting when before you were mentioning PK was mentioning Renee. Geez, now I'm forgetting the last name. It's like Grenon.
Yeah.
Yes.
He. I was looking at his photo and I was like, because I was remembering Gabe when you were bringing up Lovecraft looking like Zuckerberg. That he almost looks like Lovecraft. This Grenon looks like Lovecraft a bit with a mustache, with the way his portrait is.
The kind of horse faced.
Yeah, it's that same type of similar face. So I definitely could see them making like just constantly like recreating these archetypes, like you're saying, in different characters.
He's kind of gaunt, right? It's kind of gauntly might be the word.
Yeah, and I was going by the photo that they had on the wiki for him, so I don't know if he looks different in other ones, but
you're totally
So
right.
okay, he had this thing. He was weird about, well, according to someone else, he was weird about having his picture taken. Like this dude wrote to him and was like, "Hey, can you kindly send me a picture of yourself?" And he responded like, "No." And so he said Ganon wrote in this letter back to him that uh he lived in Ganon lived in Egypt. Okay.
Yeah.
He moved there from France or whatever and ended up living in then at the end of his life, right, in Egypt. And he goes, the weirdest thing happened. A Jewish like mystic came and was offering people money for my picture. And he's like, so no, I won't send you my picture, writing back to this guy and told him that story. He's like, no, I won't see a picture. And I've just decided that I don't even want to have my picture taken. Which I guess was this kind of easy thing to do back then, right?
Yeah.
Because, you had to stay still and, to get like a good photo. And it'd be like obvious, right? If someone was trying to flash a picture of you. So I wonder if this is like one of the, because he looks fairly young in this picture.
Yeah.
That, yeah, I just thought that was a really interesting story that he didn't even like having his picture taken.
well,
Yeah.
isn't there that belief in certain cultures too, where if you get your picture taken and someone like I guess they have your picture, they're basically taking like part of your essence or your soul. It's like
Yeah, I
kind of
think
feels like
don't the Amish think that? I think that's an Amish thing.
Big
Yeah.
time. Yes. And also I'll mention Epicurus. Epicurus was said to refuse to have a statue made of him, so they snuck in an artist to memorize his likeness, and then later on to make I think a bust, a carving, or a drawing that became a carving. But yeah, it's just interesting. These big philosophers kind of ritualistically nodding to the greats.
So let's look at potentially your other Jesuit. I think this is the author of that book you just showed.
Yes, you got it.
So I'm still searching, but he seems very tied to movie industry,
Yeah.
right? He's a screenwriter. Usually if he's Jewish, it will say that he was born to a Jewish family right away. So I guess he's that. I don't know either. Is that a Jesuit place? University of Pennsylvania?
I believe
It's hard to
so.
tell. It's hard to tell with this stuff,
I believe UPenn is as well. I believe almost the majority of those schools that are near the
St.
Susquehanna,
Mary.
Yeah,
up
buddy.
in that like 42 degree parallel line down a few degrees and up a few degrees, they all seem to be Jesuit run.
Big time.
So I wonder if he got this from other Jesuit teachers, maybe, or it was probably a system that he sort of developed or figured out on his own too, because that's cool, all about the innovation and stuff. Like I like what you're doing with the tarot, like
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
it's not set in stone. Like, I think stuff should be changed and played with and all that. But like to my point, could we make a system that is 11, and whenever he gets to the down to it in this book and goes through the 9, that is like the 9 of whatever the storytelling is, right? The journey, the whatever. I assume that's what he does in the book, right? He makes it like, okay, a story it could be this, and like that's your 9 to completion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Now, is this
why
later what
9?
is this later what Joseph Campbell bases his like hero's journey on?
I don't think Campbell explicitly infused it into this patterning,
Okay.
but kind of I think that's on us to bridge those two worlds.
Yeah.
Because the tarot cards are connected to Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. But for me to put them onto the Enneagram is kind of taking it hyperdimensionally.
Yeah.
And then PK, after this, will you bring up that Antarctica? Yeah.
Yeah, I got it.
This was just a one episode I did on my own, and I didn't do the best job. But I was kind of wishy-washy on some of the associations. I want to dust this off and represent the whole thing. But essentially, I've been studying the Odyssey of the epics, and the story of Odysseus is actually systematically going through the Enneagram in reverse order. It's going from number 9, the slothful ones. That is where he is in the island of the lotus eaters. And he has to kind of trick his own soldiers and strap them into the boat to get them to leave from this addictive land of slothfulness. And then he moves from the number 9 position, from the top, he moves to the number 8 position, and he goes up against Polyphemus in the cave. Polyphemus is like a controller with the shadow of domineering. Then he breaks down to the enthusiasts with the shadow of glutton. That is the Aeolians. He systematically is going through strife and struggles against cultures that represent the personality types of the Enneagram. And so that is profound. That's actually, I believe there's a fellow named Michael Goldstein, I think, has a lot of research on how the Enneagram is Odyssey's path going backwards, 9 through 1. And something that Michael Goldstein would never put together is that also the Iliad, which is like the masculine prequel to the Odyssey, the opening words to the Iliad is mania, rage, which is an anagram for the word Enneagram. And so I believe that the Iliad is going 1 through 9 in order, and that the Odyssey is like an exhale going order. And a lot of people tell you that the Iliad is masculine and the Odyssey is feminine. And so I do believe that this system has been alive that long. And what was really fun was going through Antarctica in the mythology of these certain locations around Antarctica. And they are literally reenacting the Odyssey with different parts of the myths of what takes place around Antarctica. And it blows my mind because Antarctica looks like a brain. It totally looks like either a placenta or a brain. So yeah, those are some of my my claims around the Enneagram. I think these stories constitute DNA of a type, like mythological DNA, that the phonetics from the characters are still like key foundations to psychology, that we use their names still today to describe our spiritual experience.
And isn't one of the so that's cool that what is the first words of the Iliad again? You said
Ma-
Medea rage.
mania,
Yeah.
like mania, rage.
Ah,
And they're actually saying both. They're saying it in Greek, but they're also saying it in English. And
what is the rosy finger dawn about?
it's about the 4 fingers. It's about the old counting system where they would actually do 12 and then count that on this hand. They would do 12 and count that on this hand.
You think?
Yes, but also I believe that it has to do with so you know how to measure the sun with your arms? Do you know how to do that?
I
Where you
I do, and
yeah,
yes, I've looked into this a good. Yeah.
yeah, where
No.
you square up and you put your fingers between the horizon and the sun. It tells you how many hours away from sunset or how away from sun up. It
Yeah.
gives you
Yeah.
a measure of time with your fingers. Um, and what else? Also, I think it could even have to do with the instruments, like
Well, and
when
what was the word that was used for dawn? I think that stood out to me, that it was is actually like a name, um, possibly a
for,
goddess.
yeah, maybe for glory or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, it was a name, but wasn't there too something about Ulysses by James Joyce that have you ever
Yes.
read that book? Because I know I haven't read it, but from what I understand about it, he's playing with the Odyssey and does some like crazy stuff story wise that kind of mirrors it. Does he go in this forward reverse thing that you're talking about? No.
No, he doesn't, but he does bring up really important topics, super important topics, uh, in regards to characters from the past actually literally hearing the voices of God, and that there is some sort of zeitgeist collective that does speak to people. And back in the day, they expected it to happen. And so he's basically saying we should maybe take them literally when they're talking to gods in their own head.
Hmm.
Um, um, but I think I want to say this. Another thing that I think he touches on is how Odysseus is one of the first characters ever to be in his own story while telling his own reflection of how he got into the story in the first place. And that's how they start us in the story. So that's kind of like that Quentin Tarantino broken up out of order, but he's the first person talking about himself in the past. And this is psychologically just this is a mushroom cloud in the psychology of the poets and storytelling at large. And I think we could never appreciate sufficiently what has happened to us in regards to coming to believe that we are the writers of our own story. I mean, this is the fourth wall come tumbling down more than 3,000 years ago. The fourth wall came tumbling down with Ulysses telling his own story. Yeah, and today the fourth wall is tumbling down thanks to the Smith Modernization Act. We don't know what's real or fiction anymore.
I think I found it. It's look, this Eos. E, right? H is E kind of this, but it's OS.
Okay. Damn, sounds like Crowley's little butt
Yeah, I kind of
homunculus.
got the Aeon going on there. But that is the dawn um that I was talking about. So he just always says soon appeared the rosy fingered dawn. That's all I remember, or
Yeah,
like from Homer, or a lot. He would begin like every book or every whatever you call it
with the rosy fingered.
with the rosy fingered dawn.
I also think of the Japanese flag, that has the rising sun with all those rays coming off of it. And even in Egyptology, like Amon Ra was sometimes a disc with the the rays of sun had hands on the end of every ray.
Mm-hmm. That's a crazy word for rosy fingered. It's like Rodo. Uh,
Oh, that's it.
Rodo
Somebody's pointing out, James is pointing out,
Oculos.
Julian James is, I think, who I was talking about, who believed that the ancients were hearing the voices.
Ah,
I was thinking of Julian James, and you might have been thinking of James Joyce.
I was thinking James Joyce with the Ulysses, the book.
Okay, that's the one that's more modern. It's like a more
Ye-
modern. Yes.
Yeah, like probably this century or like 1900 something.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do remember studying that and being really impacted by it. And it was kind of mind altering for the people. You know, they were getting a revisit of the Odyssey, but in a modern
But
context.
on a modern context, yeah.
Yes.
That's what he does with
Yeah.
it.
And even the word like the single word theodicy is kind of dealing with if God is so good, then why do bad things happen at all? And it's kind of like, which is fascinating because Odysseus is having a theocidological crisis when he goes through the Odyssey.
Because like no name. Are you
Yeah.
tying it to that?
Yeah, he's pissed because the gods interfered with the war, and he's like, "We're better off without him. Why do we even pay taxes?"
So, Gabe, with what you were saying before, I probably will bounce that after this just because my connection is so unstable. But there were two things that are popping out to me in this: the doctrine of transcendental magic by Levi, Eliphas Levi. So one of the quotes in one of the first, right in the first chapter, it's the secret book of antique initiation was not unknown to Homer, who outlines its plan and chief figures on the shield of Achilles with minute precision. So that was one of
Damn,
them.
bro.
And then he gets way into the epics in this chapter, but then at the end of it, he talks about to the initiates, there's a name for God. It's a single word that consists of 4 letters, and he says it is the tetragram of the Hebrews, the Azoth of the alchemists, the Toth of the Bohemians, or the Tarot of the Kabbalists. So I'm like,
Wowzers.
there's your tarot connection with the epics right there, and I'm guessing that would lead you somewhere to the Enneagram.
Which book was that in by Levi?
This is in what is it?
Is it History of Magic or Transcendental?
The doctrine of transcendental magic. Yeah.
Man alive. That's exactly what lit me up. Was when I was reading about the shield of Achilles.
Yeah.
And the armor of Achilles.
And he does not get into it. He just says that's like the one sentence in like the first 15 pages on the shield of Achilles, and that's all he mentions. He like won't mention more.
Oh
I
my
just
gosh.
started looking at this randomly yesterday because someone had mentioned in, I think maybe Juan's room on Telegram, Levi conjuring Yoda. That image of Levi. It might have been Juan's room. It may have been somewhere else. I'm not sure. But there's an image of like him having like the magic circle and conjuring like a little Yoda figure.
Totally. That's right. I do remember that picture. You know, I just want to insert again, when I read about the description of the armor that Hephaestus makes for Achilles, the armor is like animated. It's doing things as it's being described. It's like describing a moving thing.
They say the same thing about the armor of I think David, or in the David versus Goliath story. It didn't fit him properly, but then it somehow fits him. Like it shifts to fit him correctly when he goes into battle.
Yes, kind of like Marty McFly puts on his shoes and he just slaps them and they suck together and come to shape. But I just want to kind of put the future tense verbs on the radar. I think there's something about describing these visions with a certain language that it might be lost to us, like Elven tongue, that really brings to life these descriptions. And it's so fascinating that Alephus Levi was pointing at the same chapters I'm tripping on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Azot. God for us is the Azot of the sages.
Yeah, it's odd. I think, and it's you see how he leaves off a T in like the tarot he leaves off an H. Azoth he leaves or an H. He leaves off the H because I think Azot won't return any results. You have to put Azoth. Just like Toth, you have to put the H at the end of it. He says he spells it differently. He spells tarot without the T at the end of T, so he leaves out a letter. I don't know if that's just the.
Oh, really? He spells tarot without a T at the
Yeah,
end?
but
And
when you look it up, it gets right and it brings up the correct, like what you would think it would bring up. Like it brings up things related to the tree of life and.
dude, Oedipus has a diphthong on it.
Yep.
Yeah, he
Definitely.
definitely wrote the Oedipus is weird here. And this, I'm sure, was first written in French, right?
Yeah, this is a
Yeah.
translation.
And
Mhm.
Oedipus was a riddle solver. Oedipus solved the riddle of the Sphinx. And the word
Wasn't he the motherfucker or something?
eventually,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, motherfucker.
But only because he was following custom and didn't have an innovative mind. But yeah, he solves the riddle of the Sphinx, and also the word America is an anagram for chimera. The Sphinx is a chimera, y'all.
Yeah, he talks about chimeras a lot in these first few chapters too,
I
and
think-
Mesmer,
Oh, good Lord. That's
Man, I
potent.
want to, dude, that's cool you bring up Mesmer. I was just talking about Mesmer last night with someone. Like, okay, the name to mesmerize someone,
Yep.
you know, did it really come from this guy's last name? Is that like, right? That's a story, right?
that's a story.
It's
we're
just
getting,
crazy.
yeah.
So I got some books on Mesmer I wanted to actually read because it's all about not only like hypnotism, right? That's the main theme, but it's
Uh-huh.
more about magnetism, I think, which is cool. So, yeah, I got a whole folder of this kind of train of thought that was swept aside, and along with everything else, when
Yeah.
the medical takeover, the hypnotists were kind of serious, right? From what I could tell, many people believed that their science worked or their practice was worth a shit. And so Mesmer
Right.
was like the number one guy, allegedly, like the biggest name, kind of brought it forward, and then people went from there. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
And had a hand in the founding of Haiti. Some of the founding paperwork to
No way.
establish Haiti had Mesmer as one of the chief pullers of the strings. But it had to do with the time when, like, yeah, animal magnetism that Carl Jung turned into the Bush soul. And then George Bush gave us the speech of the law of the jungle. And so the Bush soul and the law of the jungle and natural law are all kind of hiding out in this this Darwinistic, like, oh, that's for the primitive people, when in fact what we're talking about is this is where the psychic energies are still flourishing today on the other side of the Bush soul. Yeah, Mesmer. I just want to mention Cagliostro. I was studying Cagliostro the other day and how he might be very closely related to Saint Germain. I'm putting it on the map, y'all. The word Germain is an anagram for Enneagram. Germain is totally Enneagram.
So all right, let me get this right. It's either South America or it's Enneagram. Take your pick, y'all. You heard it here first.
I have to
It's
choose.
either South America or the Enneagram. This has been fun.
Big
Yeah,
time.
no, thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, man. All kinds of receipts. Lots and lots of rabbit trails to go down. I want to
How long
give a
have we been
shout
going?
out to the chat, Polymathin, Mr. Obvious in the house. Howard and James Kaplan. Paula D is here. Paula D came from Texas Magi Dude channel. I recognize you. Big love, Paula D. Big love and respect. Dragon Sage, I think I saw out there earlier. Yeah, guys, I'm glad we did this because my StreamYard is going to run out in a few days. So I'm glad we got our money's worth. But I also
was wondering. Good.
Yeah, I think I got some travel in here in the next month, so the Slick Dissident channel might be put on hold periodically, and I might not be live streaming at least for the next over the fall till we get our roots back in out east. But Chris, thanks for coming to show up, man. I'm glad you wove with us tonight.
Yeah, I'm glad I could get on. I'm gonna hop off before my connection bounces out on you guys again. But I'll talk to you guys soon.
Right on, brother. Big
See you,
love.
Chris.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so everybody check in the show notes. I got my t-shirts. I got my slickdissident.com. You guys know the routine. Thanks for coming to join us. PK,
Let's look real quick because okay, seem to be working. Yeah, the other night, man, I got this error 404 and this other guy did too.
on my
But look, I got it pulled up.
okay.
Let's check this out.
The slickdissident.com action.
Yeah, it's working.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes I guess people might
Where's
need
this
like
new hoodie? Right here?
yeah. The Luna Lima hoodie.
Did I mess up?
No, I think you got to click on anything again. Any one of them will get you to the collection.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Is this
click
it
on
right here?
well, click on that. It'll take you to the collection page, I believe. And then you scroll down and it's probably all the way at the bottom is the new
Oh,
Luna.
here's a
That
so
one,
which one is this one? Yeah, that's a different one. But this one's the one you're talking about?
no, that one is Prometheus on the Analima.
Oh, okay.
But go down to the bottom. There. That
This
one
one.
is yeah. This one is Luna Lima. It's a kind of a figure 8 of moon phases. And something that was really fun about this one, there's a tambourine, there's a pandero, kind of right dead center.
Yeah.
But recently I've been learning some of the je ne sais quoi, the magic touch to really making the tambourine sing. And and I tried to capture that in the image here, the way you actually kind of roll the cymbals around the plate, almost like you were swishing water in a bowl. And that is actually the little twist in the wrist that makes the magic happen with the tambourine. So it's kind of trying to capture that energy visually.
Dude, I really like that. I really do. And then you got the peacock, of course. You know what else I like about this is that you got your branding here. You got Slick Distant, but that's really, I like that because it's better than like this or that podcast or something. Because Slick Distant, why can't I be Slick Distant? Why can't anyone wearing this shirt be the Slick Distant? You know what I mean? It's not it's not like this or that podcast. It has meaning otherwise. So that's cool. That's also too what I like about it.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, it just I noticed other shows called their their viewership, they call them some little pet name of their group, and I was like, man, it was just made for that. We're all dissidents.
Right?
Thanks, George Bush. I'll take it.
Oh man.
All right.
Well, good stuff.
Big love and respect out there, everybody. Keep your wits about you. Don't let the birth of tragedy bring any new messiahs onto the plane of existence. They totally are hitting that button with the natural disaster capitalism. And in a strange way, when we give them credit for controlling the weather, in a tacit form, we're giving them the attributes of God. in a really strange way, when we push the weather narrative, we're saying that they are God because natural disaster capitalism can't ensure an act of God. And we're kind of putting the God button in their hand when we go with the weather control narrative. So a lot of things to think about, don't give your consent away ever so easily. Practice all the reticence that you can.
That's right. Don't give him more power just because.
Oh, it cut out right when you said something, PK.
I was just saying, don't give them more power just because. Sometimes we just give them more power than they deserve. So
Yeah, buddy.
something to think about for sure.
Right on. Big
This
love
has
and
been fun,
respect.
man. Appreciate everyone.
Big love, y'all.